Hey everyone, how's it going today and welcome to another episode. So in today's video, what I really want to talk about, as the title suggests, is really just sharing my thoughts about why I think today it's very particularly difficult to be a millennial. So this video is really dedicated to anyone that was basically born in either the 80s or the 90s, or if you are someone that maybe was born beforehand, so you happen to be an older soul, but can maybe just shed some advice or life into basically this subject. I want to talk about this topic as the title suggests. Now, I will say, as while we're still in the beginning of the video, is that I do deep down inside believe that this is not all doom and gloom. There are actually some really wonderful things about being a millennial today. But with that being said, because at the end of the day, we happen to be a finance and economic channel, in the world of finance, so personal finance and economics, I think it is a very particularly difficult time, especially now today in 2025, which is what we are going to talk about in today's video. So with that being said, let's just get right to this video. But as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for similar videos like this if you guys enjoy. I mean, you guys are here hopefully for a reason. And with that being said, let's get started. So in the last episode, I remember that we talked a lot about several life lessons that I really learned and I really wish I knew in my early 20s. So I definitely highly recommend checking that video out if you happen to be younger and you're just watching this video for some insight, which I'll link at the end screen. But the first reason why it's very particularly difficult to be a millennial today has everything to really just do with the labor market, but especially the job market. It is very well known that today the unemployment rate is very deceptively high, because there are a lot of people, and we've talked about this on this channel before, that are currently unemployed, but for all sorts of reasons, they are basically not considered in the unemployment statistic. So examples of this could be maybe because they stopped looking for jobs because it was just physically that difficult to find work, or they happen to be underemployed in the sense that they are working, but they are not working full-time hours. But the bottom line behind this point is really about the fact that the labor market right now, simply put, is just not doing very well. It is a very difficult time to find a job. It's a little bit industry specific, because I know that there are some industries that's still not too bad. So for example, I heard healthcare is not totally bad, but I don't work in healthcare, so if you do work in healthcare, maybe feel free to comment down what it's like in your industry, or even if you don't work in healthcare, just whatever it's like in your particular industry. But the idea really behind this point is that a lot of the common popular industries that people want to work in, so for example, certainly tech, certainly media, anything in the arts, so anything in the arts, the creative world, theater, entrepreneurship. I work in the film industry, so that's just one example. I can certainly attest that the job market is pretty horrible right now. People are getting laid off. The difficulty of finding work is very real. The acceptance rates have dropped very drastically, in some cases into the single digits, in order to find work. And it's just a very difficult time when it comes to the job market. So that's going to be the first point that I really want to make. And the other really important thing to bring up is that even if you manage to find a job, it does not necessarily mean that the job that you're going to find is going to be a quality job. And this is then what I mean by quality is in every definition of the word quality. So a job that you can find fulfilling, that pays well, that, you know, gives you relatively reasonable work-life balance, it is a very difficult find today. Especially true because of the fact that it's very well noted already, and we've talked about this again on this channel as well, about how wages have just not kept up with inflation, which is probably a really great transition to talking about the next point about why it's so difficult to be a millennial. And it's because of inflation, because of all of the stuff going on in that world, and it's because the cost of doing a lot of things back in the old days have just become significantly more expensive today. And so everything related to things such as like housing, groceries, expenses, wages have just simply put not been keeping up. And because we're going through a massive inflation crisis, it's led to a lot of difficulties because people are no longer able to afford basic goods, necessities, and probably is a really great transition to the next point why it's so difficult to be a millennial today, is that it's because everything has gotten so expensive today, the typical experiences that people back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, or people born in the, basically people born before the 80s, was able to experience during their time period, today, because of the fact of all of the stuff that's going on, it's made it so that we've had to delay a lot of the common experiences that we normally have. So what are some examples, maybe to make this, hopefully make a little bit more sense, is that, for example, back in the day, it was a lot easier to buy a home when if you were, just someone that had a basic, college degree and you were trying to buy a home. It was a lot more feasible to become a homeowner. Today, there is almost nobody that I know, and I speak as a millennial, again, keep in mind this is coming from straight from a millennial, there is almost nobody I know that is a homeowner in their 20s, unless, the keyword is unless, two things apply. Either they live in a very low cost of living area, which probably means that the quality of life may not necessarily be as good as compared to like living in a vibrant city where there's a lot more happening, or they're working very particular jobs. So for example, in STEM, anything in the world of STEM, software engineering, anything in that world, those are the people that can maybe just consider buying a home or pursuing these experiences. But for the majority of people that are not doing these things, so for example, the majority of people that are working in industries that are not related to tech, that are not related to law, finance, or doctor, or anything in that world, it is very, very difficult. People are delaying, or not even delaying, but just simply putting it totally out of the question to ever become a homeowner. It's become more difficult than ever to buy a house. They're delaying having kids, they're delaying marriage, they're delaying experiences, they're delaying, and they're just delaying a lot of different things that has made it a lot more difficult, and for reasonable reasons as well. Why? It's because of all of this difficulty related to inflation, that if things are more expensive, things might not even be feasible to, be able to do a lot of these things that we want to do, that a lot of millennials want to do, but just cannot do today because of these reasons. Unless you are a millennial, again, going back, that either works a very particular job or is in a very low cost of living area. But for those that want to be in a city, for example, I'm in New York City, it is difficult. It's very, very difficult. Another big reason why it's very, very particularly difficult today, I mean, we've already talked about so many, but it really is genuinely just that difficult to be a millennial today on a financial and economic perspective, is really because of the importance of education. And this one's very, very important because it is very, very well known, and you can look up the literally on the website of almost any private university today about how college tuition has gone extraordinarily expensive today, especially for anyone that maybe is not able to qualify for scholarships or financial aid. These days, it is not unheard of for college students to pay, including room and board. So if you include room, board, or anything, and maybe I'll use an example, but like basically like any major university, any major private university, it is not unheard of today for college students to have to pay over $100,000 just to attend university. And the saddest part is that not only is it really difficult for all of this stuff because of the increased cost of education, student debt, and loans, but the fact that the weight of the degree is also lesser than what it used to be back in the old days because more people are getting them. So that's another really, really big point, is that because the value of college education has dropped, but the cost of it has increased. This is a double negative. This is a double negative side that's very, very difficult to really, really have to absorb for anyone that's trying to go to college today. It is more expensive, yet the weight of the degree means that even if you have a degree, it's considered a baseline, meaning that even if you have a degree, there is no guarantees you'll be able to find a job, which kind of goes on to the earlier point we made about the very difficult job market and the increased competition it takes to be able to land a job. This is just one of those things that's very, very important to really be able to bring up. But maybe now that we've talked about so many negative things about it, I want to maybe take a transition to end this video on a little bit of a positive note, is that while it is true that it's very, very difficult financially and economically today, obviously, to be a millennial, I still believe that there are still some really great things or some silver linings that can come about in our particular time period in 2025 today, and probably going on into the future in 2026, 7, and the near future in those coming years. And it's really about the increase in technology, because compared to older generations, what maybe we can say is some silver lining and nice things is that technology has been greater than ever. People have more resources than ever to learn different things. I know we've talked about how the value of education has decreased, but the access to education has actually increased, because now people are able to learn things through remote learning. They're able to learn things remotely, online, through free resources. So many different things that have kind of popped up that has made it a lot nicer. I do know another really big area that I personally have really benefited has actually been social life and the ability to build a network of people, both on a just fun social perspective, but also on a career and more professional perspective as well. Today we have things such as like LinkedIn, we have the internet, we have email, we have things that essentially have made it a lot easier to be able to network with individuals. Today we have Slack, we have Messenger, we have a lot more communication devices that we can use, we have social media, and because of this reason, it's made communication a lot easier. It's made it so it's a lot easier to stay in touch with people, and I think that these are some areas that maybe there are still some silver linings after all. But of course, beyond this is that at the end of the day, it doesn't, dismiss the fact that there are still a lot of difficult things about being a millennial. But of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this topic. Maybe feel free to comment down what you guys think it's like to be a millennial today. If you are a millennial, you probably already know, but even if you're not a millennial, it's always great to hear from you guys. So with that being said, if you guys made it to the end, maybe drop a comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you guys can get notified about future videos, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.